The village of Monterra was the kind of place where time seemed to pause. Nestled between rolling hills and mist-covered forests, it was a haven for those who sought solace in simplicity. Among its quaint streets lived Elena, a young woman known for her enchanting voice that seemed to mirror the melodies of the sparrows. She sang at every village festival, her voice lifting the spirits of all who listened. But her heart, despite its ability to pour such beauty into the world, carried a quiet ache. Elena's mother had passed away when she was young, leaving her in the care of her father, a stoic man who barely spoke. He worked tirelessly as a carpenter, and their small home was filled with the scent of sawdust and the hum of his tools. Elena often sang as she helped him, hoping to bring light to their muted household. One crisp autumn morning, the village awoke to the news of a new arrival. A stranger had moved into the old manor on the hill, a place long abandoned and whispered to be cursed. Intrigued and apprehensive, the villagers speculated endlessly about who he might be. Elena, too, was curious, though she said nothing. It wasn't until days later, during one of her long walks in the forest, that she encountered him. He was sitting by the brook, sketching something in a worn notebook. His dark hair fell across his forehead, and his eyes, a piercing blue, seemed to capture the world's secrets. Elena paused, not wanting to disturb him, but a twig snapped underfoot. The stranger looked up, startled. "I'm sorry," Elena said quickly. "I didn't mean to intrude." He shook his head and smiled faintly. Then, to her surprise, he opened his notebook, revealing a sketch of the brook she often sang by. "That's beautiful," she said, stepping closer. "You're very talented." The man nodded but said nothing. Instead, he flipped to a new page and began to draw her. Elena stood still, her cheeks warming under his gaze. When he finished, he turned the notebook to show her. The likeness was uncanny, capturing not just her appearance, but something deeper, her essence. "I'm Elena," she offered, extending a hand. The man hesitated before writing something on the corner of the page. "Gabriel." Elena's brow furrowed. "You can't speak?" Gabriel shook his head. He touched his throat and then his heart, as if to say, "But I can hear and feel." From that day, Elena and Gabriel formed an unspoken bond. They met by the brook every morning, communicating through sketches, notes, and gestures. Gabriel's art captured the world in ways words never could, while Elena's songs filled the silence with a warmth he had never known. As autumn deepened, so did their connection. Gabriel began sketching more of Elena, always focusing on her eyes, which he said, through a hastily scribbled note, held the stories of 1,000 songs. Elena found herself singing for him, her melodies weaving around them like a spell. But love, as Elena knew too well, was rarely simple. The villagers, wary of Gabriel's silence and his reclusive nature, began to gossip. Rumors spread that he was hiding something, a fugitive, a cursed soul, or worse. Elena's father, overhearing the whispers, forbade her from seeing him. "He's not like us," her father said, his voice gruff. "You don't know what he's capable of." "He's kind," Elena argued. "He listens. He understands me." "A man who can't speak has no place in a village built on stories," her father replied, his words cutting deeper than she expected. That night, Elena sat by her window, staring at the hill where Gabriel's manor stood. The thought of losing him was unbearable, but she couldn't defy her father openly. She decided to visit Gabriel one last time, to tell him goodbye. The next morning, as the first rays of sunlight pierced the mist, Elena found Gabriel by the brook. He looked up, sensing her sorrow, and began sketching furiously. When he finished, he handed her the notebook. The drawing showed them standing together, surrounded by music notes and stars. At the bottom, he had written, "I will always listen, even in silence." Tears welled in Elena's eyes. "I don't want to lose you," she whispered. Gabriel cupped her face gently, his thumb brushing away her tears. Then he kissed her, a silent promise that spoke louder than any words. The days that followed were a blur of defiance and longing. Elena continued to meet Gabriel in secret, their love growing stronger, despite the villagers' suspicions. But as winter approached, Gabriel's health began to decline. He grew pale and weak, though he tried to hide it. One evening, he handed Elena a letter. Inside, he explained that he had a rare illness, one that had taken his voice years ago and was now claiming his strength. He didn't have much time left. No, Elena said, her voice breaking. We can find help. We can fight this. Gabriel shook his head, smiling sadly. He touched her heart and then his, as if to say, I will always be with you. On the first snowfall of the season, Gabriel passed away in his sleep. Elena found him in the manor, his sketchbook open beside him. The final drawing was of her, surrounded by sparrows and sunlight. The villagers, moved by her grief and the beauty of Gabriel's art, came together to honor him. They displayed his sketches in the village square, where they were admired for generations. Gabriel, the silent stranger, had left behind a legacy of love and understanding. Elena never sang at another festival, but her songs lived on in the hearts of those who heard them. And every autumn, she visited the brook, where the sparrows sang a serenade only she could understand.